Donald Smith woke up that morning to his phone, buzzing like it was trying to run away from the nightstand. He figured it was spam, or one of those dumb group chats his cousin never shut up in. He didn't even check the caller ID. He just smacked the screen and answered with a groggy, "Hello." That's when he heard Lucas's voice, his neighbor. "Donald, I think your grandma's sitting outside your gate." At first, Donald didn't process it. He just blinked. "Wait, what?" "Been there about 20 minutes. 2 bags with her. She's just sitting there." Donald sat straight up in bed like someone had poured cold water down his back. "Are you sure it's my grandma? I've seen her before." "It's her. She hasn't moved." Donald didn't even say goodbye. He just hung up and scrambled out of bed. Gladys, his wife, woke up when she saw him tearing through the closet, grabbing a hoodie. "What's going on?" she mumbled. Donald was already at the door. "My grandma's outside, sitting on the ground." That got Gladys's attention fast. She was right behind him. They opened the front door and there she was, Grandma Kate, sitting on the freezing concrete at 5:30 in the morning, like she was waiting for a bus that wasn't coming. 2 busted old suitcases sat next to her. One had a paper folded and shoved into the handle loop. She wasn't crying or yelling, just staring down at the ground like she didn't even know where she was. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking hard. She didn't even look up when they approached. Donald rushed over. "Grandma, what are you doing out here?" She didn't answer. Donald bent down, touched her arm, cold as ice. Gladys was already pulling open the front door again and turning up the heat inside. She helped him bring Grandma Kate in while Donald grabbed the suitcases and the folded note. The heater kicked on, and they got Grandma Kate wrapped in 2 blankets. She still hadn't said a word. Gladys sat next to her on the couch, rubbing her back gently while Donald opened the note. It said, "We figured this was best. Please understand." That was it. No names, no explanation, just that. Donald stared at the paper like it might change if he blinked hard enough. It didn't. That's when it hit him. His parents did this. His own mother and father had dumped his 75-year-old grandmother at his front gate like she was junk furniture. They didn't want her anymore. Donald's hands were shaking as he walked over to the security monitor next to the front door and pulled up the footage. He scrolled to about 5 a.m., and sure enough, there it was. His dad's SUV pulled up quietly. His dad got out, opened the back seat. His mom helped Grandma Kate out. They placed the bags next to her, said nothing, and got back in the car. Drove off like they were late for breakfast. No hugs, no explanation, no knocking on the door, just gone. Donald felt this deep, slow burn in his chest, the kind of anger that wasn't loud but settled, the kind that was going to stay there all day. He called his dad, no answer. Called again, nothing. Tried his mom, straight to voicemail. He tried both of them a dozen more times, pacing the living room like he was going to wear a trench in the hardwood. Meanwhile, Grandma Kate finally spoke up. Her voice was like she hadn't talked in hours. "I'm sorry for showing up like this, Donald. I didn't mean to bother you too." Donald nearly dropped the phone. "Grandma, no. Don't say that. You're not bothering anyone." Gladys leaned in, nodding. "You're always welcome here." Donald asked, "Why didn't you knock? Why didn't you call?" Grandma Kate looked down at her hands. "Didn't want to wake anyone. I figured someone would come out eventually." Donald sat down across from her, trying to keep his voice steady. "Did they say why they dropped you off?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Last night your dad packed my things. Said Nelson and Janet were moving in, and the house was going to be too crowded." Donald blinked. That was it. No warning, no plan. She just shook her head. "He said it wouldn't be forever, just until they got settled. And they just left you in the cold." No answer. She looked away again, not crying, just dead quiet. The next morning, they all had breakfast together. Well, tried to. Grandma Kate just sat there holding her mug like it was a lifeline. After Gladys took Eunice, their daughter, to school, Donald told Grandma Kate straight up, "We're going over there today. I want answers." She looked hesitant at first, but then she nodded. "Okay, but I don't want to fight." "Too late for that," Donald said. He called out of work. Gladys did the same. They loaded Grandma Kate into the car and started driving to his parents' house. When they pulled into the neighborhood, Donald already felt the tension crawling up his spine. There was a white moving truck parked outside his parents' house, and Nelson was standing next to it laughing about something with Janet. The anger that had been simmering all morning. Yeah, it started to boil. Donald parked a little up the street. Not because he had to, but because he didn't trust himself to pull into the driveway without wanting to dent someone's bumper. They walked toward the house slowly. Nelson noticed them first. His smirk faded real quick when he saw Grandma Kate. Janet's face dropped like she'd just been caught doing something shady at church. Neither of them said a word as Donald and Gladys approached. Just gave stiff half nods like they were strangers, not family. Donald's parents were sitting inside like nothing was happening. He didn't bother with hello. You dumped her at my gate like she was garbage. His dad looked at him. No emotion. Just that blank stare he used to give Donald when he didn't mow the lawn. Right. She's staying with you now, isn't she? What's the problem? Donald's jaw clenched so hard it actually cracked. The problem, he snapped, is that you left her outside in the freezing cold at 5:30 in the morning. His mom set her coffee down, all dramatic. Donald, we're not going to do this. We had no choice. No choice. Donald turned to Nelson. You couldn't stay in a hotel, an Airbnb, rent a room for a few weeks? Nelson shrugged like it was obvious. I'm not blowing money on rent when we can stay here for free. It's family. Yeah, Donald said. Family. That's what this is about, right? His mom leaned forward, her voice quick, like she was trying to explain a spreadsheet to a child. Nelson and Janet just had a baby. Donald, you know how stressful it is. They needed stability. The house was getting crowded. Your grandma, she's just too much these days. Gladys blinked. Too much. His mom waved her hand in a circle. The noise. The TV too loud. She forgets things. Always leaving the stove on. We were starting to worry about fire hazards. Honestly, we were doing her a favor. You've got more space anyway. He couldn't even find words for a second. You think abandoning your own mother-in-law in the dark cold is a favor? His dad finally spoke up. We're not going to stand here and be judged for a hard decision. It's not like we threw her out on the street. She's with you. You didn't even knock on the door. Janet finally piped up, her voice soft, like she was trying not to get blamed. We told them not to do it that way. I wanted to call first, but they said you'd understand. He turned on Nelson. You just stood by and let it happen. Nelson crossed his arms. Look, man, you're being dramatic. She wasn't happy at the house anyway. She complains all the time. She's stuck in the past. Everything's back when your grandfather was alive. This, and I used to cook like that. Like, okay, we get it. He stared at Nelson like he didn't recognize the dude anymore. She gave up her retirement to help raise us. She paid your college deposit when Dad said he couldn't afford it. Grandma Kate's hands tightened around her bag for a second. She didn't say anything, but her eyes dropped to the floor like she was remembering it too. He used to hug her after dinner, ask her to sit in the audience for every school play. Now she was just furniture to him. Not even the good kind, just the kind you dump when you need space. Nelson rolled his eyes and he said, Thank you. That doesn't mean she gets to control the house now. She was making Janet uncomfortable. Janet stiffened but didn't deny it. Grandma Kate didn't say a word. She stood there. Not a single word of defense. She looked like she didn't even belong in the conversation. That did it for him. You all make me sick. His dad stood up slowly. Watch your mouth, son. Gladys stepped between them. No, you watch yours. You dumped your mother like a bag of old clothes because your golden boy showed up needing a crib. His mom stood too, arms folded. We did what was best for everyone. No, he shot back. You did what was easiest for you. The air in the room got real thick, like no one wanted to be the first to blink. Nelson looked bored, like he was over it already. You done now? We've got stuff to unpack. He took a step toward Nelson, not even thinking. You don't get to act like this is normal. You don't get to act like you're the victim because you had to give up cable TV for a week to make room. Nelson shrugged. Look, you're already taking care of her. It worked out. I don't see what the big deal is. Grandma Kate's voice suddenly broke through everything. Quiet, but it cut through the tension like a needle. I didn't want to be a burden. He turned to her fast. You're not. Don't you ever say that. His mom sighed like she was the one exhausted by all this. We didn't want to hurt her feelings. But sometimes you just outgrow things, people. He thought that was the line that broke Gladys. She turned to his parents and said flatly, You outgrew your mother-in-law. His dad snapped. Get out of my house right now or I'm calling the police. He laughed. He actually laughed. You going to tell them you kicked your elderly mother out in freezing weather? His dad pointed at the door. Out. Gladys gently took Grandma Kate's arm. Let's go. We don't belong here. They walked toward the door. Not one of them moved to stop them. Not one apology. not one shred of shame. As he opened the front door, his mom called out, "Don't turn this into some moral crusade, Donald. She's your responsibility now." He didn't look back, just said, "Gladly." They walked out without another word. Outside, the moving truck beeped as it backed up the driveway like nothing had happened. As he helped Grandma Kate into the car, he looked over at the house he used to grow up in. It didn't feel like home anymore. It just looked like walls with a roof sitting on top of selfish people. He opened the door for Grandma Kate. She moved slow, like her bones were carrying weight they'd never fully unload again. Gladys helped her with the seatbelt while he stood there for a second, staring at the house. He wasn't sad anymore. He wasn't even mad in the usual way. He was just clear. They drove off without another word. Nelson didn't come out. His dad didn't storm the driveway. His mom didn't call out some last guilt-soaked line. They just let them go like they were nothing. It was weirdly quiet in the car the whole ride back until he pulled into their driveway and turned the engine off. "I'm filing a report," he said. Grandma Kate blinked. "You're what?" "I'm not letting that slide. What they did was illegal." She shook her head slowly. "Donald, we don't need more problems." He looked her in the eye. "They made you the problem. I'm just giving them consequences." Gladys was already nodding. "I'll drive you. Let's go today." Grandma Kate sighed and looked away. "It'll make things worse. They'll say I'm turning the family against each other." He shrugged. "Let them. If they cared about family, they wouldn't have dumped you on concrete before sunrise." They helped Grandma Kate inside, made sure she had lunch and her meds, then got her settled on the couch with Eunice. They were already clicking into that weird rhythm. Eunice asking her stuff like, "Did you have TV when you were a kid?" And Grandma Kate just laughing like nothing had happened. Before they left, Gladys sat with Grandma Kate while he grabbed his keys. That's when Grandma Kate said it low, like she wasn't even sure if she meant to say it out loud. "You know, I let them think I was slipping. It made things quieter." He paused. "They said I was forgetful, that I left the stove on. I didn't, not once, but pretending to forget a few things. It kept them from asking me for more." He didn't know whether to be impressed or heartbroken. Maybe both. Once they were set, Gladys and he got back in the car and drove to the local station. It wasn't far, maybe 20 minutes, but it felt longer with everything running through his head. He wasn't just doing this to make a point. He was doing it because he couldn't unsee what he saw that morning. He couldn't unknow what kind of people raised him. They walked into the precinct. The place smelled like old coffee and floor polish. A guy behind the desk asked what they needed. "I need to file an elder abandonment report," he said, clear and direct. That got the man's attention. He stood up and grabbed a clipboard. "You the primary caretaker?" "Yes." He led them to a small side office. 10 minutes later, a detective named Andre came in. Mid-50s, graying temples. The kind of guy who looked like he didn't trust a single word until he'd verified it twice. He sat down, looked him dead in the eye. "Tell me exactly what happened." He didn't ramble. He laid it all out step by step. The 5:30 a.m. drop-off. The security footage from his home camera. The note shoved through Grandma Kate's suitcase. Her age, medical conditions, and financial contributions to her son, aka his dad. Their refusal to even ring the doorbell. Their threats when he confronted them. Gladys backed him up with specific times and what Grandma Kate said afterward. He showed Andre the text history. His 20-plus unanswered calls to both parents. He even included Nelson's smug texts hinting that they were going to get some peace soon. Andre wrote it all down. Then he looked at Donald. "You have that security footage?" Donald nodded. "Brought a USB copy." He slid it across the desk. "Good," Andre said. "This isn't just abandonment. This looks like long-term financial exploitation too." Donald raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Andre leaned forward. "If she's been giving them her benefits and they still threw her out, especially without a care plan, notice, or emergency, then this isn't just immoral, it's criminal." Andre paused, then picked up the phone and called Adult Protective Services. They waited maybe 25 minutes before a woman named Tina walked in. Late 30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense energy. She introduced herself and sat with them to review the report. When she heard how they left Grandma Kate, her whole face changed. "This is serious," she said. "She could have been hospitalized from the cold. You're saying they made no arrangements?" "Nothing," Donald said. "Not even a phone call." Tina looked at Andre. "We need to do a wellness check on the home she came from. If the other parties refuse to cooperate, we escalate immediately." Donald signed off on the statement, gave them Grandma Kate's doctor's number and her full history. Tina scheduled a home visit to his house for the following week. We'll confirm she's safe and stable. Based on that footage and the circumstances, we may push for a court summon. Before they left, Andre looked Donald in the eye again. Most people don't report this stuff, he said. It's easier to just stay mad and quiet, but you're doing the right thing. Donald nodded. That's what I do. Back in the car, Gladys smiled. You know what? I think you kind of scared him. Donald laughed. Good. When they got home, Grandma Kate was napping on the recliner. Eunice had drawn her a picture of a cat and taped it to the wall above her. Donald stood there for a second just watching them. He didn't feel like the kid who grew up in that old house anymore. He felt like the man building the new one. That night, he blocked his parents' and Nelson's numbers. Not because he was running, but because they didn't get to barge back in when they felt like pretending to care. This wasn't a timeout. It was a full-on lockout. The next morning, Donald got a call from a restricted number. He ignored it. It rang again 5 seconds later. Then he got a text from a new number. You're seriously going to take this to court over one decision? You're destroying this family. It was from Nelson. Donald didn't reply. He took a screenshot and added it to the report file. 5 minutes later, another one came in. We didn't even do anything wrong. You'll regret this. That one got a reply. Donald typed back, you'll regret underestimating me. Then he blocked it too. By that point, he wasn't even mad anymore. Yustamuset. It was like they thought texting, you'll regret this, was going to make him sprint to the courthouse and beg them to take Grandma Kate back. He guessed when you spend your whole life thinking you're the center of the universe, consequences feel like betrayal. Anyway, he moved on. The week rolled by fast. Grandma Kate settled in like she had always lived there. Eunice started calling her roommate Kate, which made her laugh for the first time in weeks. Gladys got her a heated blanket, and Donald ordered one of those massage recliners off Amazon. Not to spoil her, just to give her the bare minimum she never got before. Tina from APS came by midweek. She inspected the house, asked Grandma Kate a few questions, made sure she was safe, clean, and not sleeping on some air mattress in the garage. By the time she left, she looked almost relieved. I've seen too many of these cases go the other way, she said. Glad to know she ended up somewhere good. That Friday, Donald got the email. Preliminary hearing scheduled. Elder neglect, abandonment, financial misconduct. Location, county courthouse. Date, Tuesday 9 a.m. He didn't need to prep. He had been prepping the second they decided to make Grandma Kate someone else's problem. Tuesday came, and Donald walked into that courtroom like he was clocking in. Gladys was at his side, calm as ever. Grandma Kate held onto his arm, not because she needed support, but because she wanted to walk in with him. Across the room, his parents and Nelson sat in a tight row like they were auditioning for a reboot of Dysfunction, the series. His mom looked like she hadn't slept. His dad looked angry. Nelson looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Probably thought this was going to blow over with a slap on the wrist and some dramatic monologue about family ties. The judge walked in, an older guy with steel gray hair and an expression like he didn't suffer fools or long-winded lawyers. He introduced himself as Judge D. Raymond, straight to business. Mr. Donald Smith, he said, looking over his glasses. You're the complainant. Please state your case. Donald stood calm, clear, no dramatics. My parents dropped my grandmother off at my house. Didn't call, didn't ring the bell. Left her with 2 bags and a folded note. It was 38 degrees that morning. He passed the printed photo of the note to the clerk, then the USB with the footage. The footage will show them driving off without saying a word. She sat there alone for 45 minutes before I found her. They didn't try to follow up. Didn't respond to 21 calls. I also have proof that for the last 3 years, she gave over $1,200 a month from her Social Security and pension to help them with bills. The judge nodded slowly. Do they have power of attorney over her finances? No, sir. Any written notice given before she was removed from their home? None. Just the note. Donald sat. Then it was their turn. His mom stood up like she was about to defend her dissertation on advanced victimhood. She opened her mouth and immediately started crying, right on cue. We just wanted what was best. Kate, she was becoming difficult. She'd argue over everything. The TV was too loud. She forgot stuff. Janet was overwhelmed with the baby. The judge cut her off. I didn't ask about Janet. I asked whether or not you gave legal notice, medical consultation, or filed for alternative housing before evicting a senior citizen under your roof. His dad stood up like he was going to fix it with some firm tone. With all due respect, Judge, we weren't evicting her. We were relocating her to another family member's home, a more appropriate one. Donald leaned over to Gladys and whispered, "Did he just say appropriate, like she's a broken vacuum?" The judge heard him, cracked a smirk, then looked back at his dad. "You dumped your 75-year-old mother on a sidewalk before dawn. You didn't relocate her. You abandoned her." That shut them up. Nelson stayed seated. He didn't say a word the entire time, probably for the best. His brain cell budget was already maxed out. Then came the part no one expected, the financial review. It turned out APS had done a full review of Grandma Kate's deposits and withdrawals. The monthly help she gave them was not voluntary. There were transfers from her account the same day every month. Most were labeled bill help, or just plain Nelson. Zero receipts, no repayment, no accountability. Judge D. Raymond looked up from the report like someone had just spit in his coffee. "You've been draining this woman's fixed income for over 30 months. And when she was no longer convenient, you discarded her." He sat back, folded his hands. "The defendants are hereby found guilty of elder abandonment and financial misconduct." Silence. No gasps, no screaming. Just Donald's parents sinking in their chairs like furniture you can't return. The ruling was swift. $3,000 fine. 12 months probation. No county travel without clearance. Court-mandated financial ethics course. Grandma Kate granted permanent primary resident status at Donald's home with restraining options pending her decision. Nelson didn't get named in the charges. He wasn't a legal guardian, just a freeloader with a weak spine and no say on paper. But something told Donald karma had him penciled in for later, probably in Sharpie. Then his dad cracked. He stood up fast, loud. "You're not my mother." No real mother would let her son be dragged into court. The judge banged the gavel once, hard. "Silence. Sit down." But his dad didn't. He pointed at Grandma Kate like she'd betrayed some invisible contract. "You raised a manipulator. You raised a snake." That's when Grandma Kate stood. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked him in the eye and said, "I raised a man who's standing next to me. You raised yourself into a corner." Judge D. Raymond nodded like that was the real verdict. Court adjourned. They left without looking back. Nelson kept his eyes down the whole time. Donald's mom was still dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. His dad was frozen in place like he couldn't process the fact that his status as patriarch didn't mean squat in front of the law. Out in the parking lot, Gladys grabbed Donald's hand. Grandma Kate let out the longest exhale he had ever heard from her. "You okay?" Donald asked. She looked at him steady. "I'm more than okay. I'm free." And yeah, Donald believed her. They drove home from court without music, without small talk, just the sound of tires and a kind of quiet satisfaction. Grandma Kate didn't say much. She sat in the back like a passenger who had finally reached her stop. Back at the house, Donald ordered dinner. Grandma Kate went to her room early. She said she needed to think, which for her probably meant sitting quietly by the window like she always did when something was brewing. The next night, she called Donald and Gladys into the living room. They sat down. She pulled an envelope from under the cushion. No build-up, no big speech. "I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to see how they'd treat me when I had nothing," Grandma Kate said. Donald opened the envelope. Legal documents, deeds, account summaries, asset records. She had property in Santa Cruz, a chunk of money tied to old restaurant ownership, and investments he didn't even recognize. Total net worth, $51 million. All in her name. All clean. Gladys sat up straight. Donald just blinked at it. "I sold the land my sister left me years ago," Grandma Kate explained. "That restaurant I worked at, I owned part of it. Silent share. I never told your father. He'd have sucked it dry. All of it's under my maiden name." She added almost like a side note. "I kept the paperwork out of the house, used a P.O. box and a different bank. Your father never had a clue." She said it like she was reciting the weather forecast. No drama, just facts. Then she handed over another set of papers. "I remember you two joking about opening a resort by the beach, somewhere peaceful. You're now the legal owners of a coastal property in Monterey. Small place, 50 rooms, spa. It's yours if you want it." Gladys stared at the papers. "This is real. Realer than the people I raised," Grandma Kate said. "They didn't celebrate or cry. They just sat there, letting it register. Not just the gift, but the meaning behind it. She had waited, watched, taken mental notes, and now she was rewarding what she saw. I don't want praise, she added. I just want to rest. And I want to know my money is not going to people who would trade me for a guest bedroom. Donald nodded. You're safe here. And we'll treat this gift the way you would. Calm and smart. They didn't quit their jobs. They didn't make announcements. They waited. That weekend, Donald and Gladys drove to Monterey alone. The place was real, clean, quiet, managed by a retired couple who had been running it for years, thinking it would be bought out and turned into condos. When Donald told them he and Gladys were the new owners, they didn't ask about money. They asked if they planned to keep the garden and the reading room. They stayed for 2 days, took notes, asked questions. The whole drive back, they didn't talk about quitting their jobs. They talked about how to make it work without throwing everything away. We'll give it time, Gladys said. Figure out if this fits our life instead of blowing up the one we already have. Exactly, Donald said. We'll run it like Grandma did. Quiet, steady, no handouts, no noise. That week, they didn't tell anyone. By Thursday, a random distant cousin commented, "Congrats on Gladys's Instagram post from your Monterey trip." That was the leak. The next Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. Donald looked through the peephole. It was his mom holding a pie. Behind her, his dad and Nelson, all three dressed like they were heading to a church fundraiser. Nelson even wore slacks. Slacks. "Hi, sweetheart," his mom said like nothing had happened. "We've been thinking about you, about Kate." Gladys appeared behind Donald. Grandma Kate stood at the end of the hallway, arms crossed. "Can we come in?" his mom asked, smiling so hard it looked painful. "We just want to reconnect." "Reconnect?" Donald asked. His dad jumped in. "It's been a long time. We miss our family. Things were tense before. Everyone said things they regret." Nelson held up a photo album. "We brought pictures. We thought Grandma might want to see the baby again." "Right. The same baby that was apparently allergic to old people last month." Grandma Kate stepped forward, her face unreadable. Then she smiled, slow and sharp. "You didn't care when I was freezing on a sidewalk," she said. "But now you want to reconnect." No one spoke. She nodded to herself. "You can keep the pie, but the door stays closed." Donald shut the door firm. Clean. No slam. Just done. Monday morning, he submitted the paperwork for a full household restraining order. Grandma Kate didn't ask for it. He just did it. No hesitation, no dramatic pause. Donald took the packet down to the courthouse, signed it in blue ink, and filed for a household-wide restraining order. Grandma Kate's name, Donald's name, Gladys's name, and Eunice's name. Every name that mattered. No warning texts, no long explanations. Let them find out the same way Grandma Kate had found herself sitting on the sidewalk without notice. Later that afternoon, they got the confirmation. Approved. The sheriff's office would deliver the notice in person. No contact, no loitering, no backdoor visits pretending to drop off food or some sudden sentimental item. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about control. Their house, their peace, their rules. 2 days later, the doorbell rang. This time it wasn't them. It was Janet alone. She stood on the porch holding the baby. No bags, no stroller. Just tired eyes and a stiff grip on the little one like she hadn't slept in days. Gladys opened the door, but didn't say anything. Donald stepped beside her. "I'm not here to beg," Janet said quickly. "I'm not here for money." Grandma Kate heard her voice and walked up behind them, leaning slightly on the doorframe. "I just wanted to say sorry," Janet said, eyes locking with hers. She didn't fake cry. She didn't play the helpless daughter-in-law. She just stood there with a baby on her hip and regret on her face. "When they kicked you out, I didn't speak up. I was scared. I should have said something. I'm sorry." Grandma Kate didn't move right away. She just stood there watching her, like she was trying to read the fine print on a contract. Then she spoke, calm but sharp. "And if I'd frozen to death that morning, would you have still been silent?" Janet didn't dodge it. She just swallowed and said, "I don't know, but I'd never forgive myself." Grandma Kate nodded once. That was it. Not a hug, not a smile, just acknowledgement. "You don't have to forgive me," Janet added. "I just needed to say it out loud." She turned to leave. "Wait," Grandma Kate said. Janet froze. "You still with Nelson?" "No. After he blamed me for losing the inheritance, he snapped, punched a hole in the wall. I took Sandra and left. I don't want anything from any of them." Grandma Kate didn't respond right away. She just looked at the baby. She have enough diapers, formula? We're managing, Janet said. I'm working part-time at the clinic near my mom's place. Leave your number with Donald. If the baby ever needs something important, just her, not you, I'll help. But don't come here again. Not out of rudeness. I just need to keep things clean. Janet nodded, left her number on a sticky note, and walked off without looking back. They closed the door. Gladys looked over. You okay with that? Better than I thought I'd be, Grandma Kate said. She didn't lie to my face. That's already more than I can say for most. Later that night, Donald checked social media. Big mistake. Nelson had posted some passive-aggressive rant about snakes in the family and money-changing people. Subtle. His comment section was a mix of sympathy and confusion. A few distant relatives chimed in with things like, "Didn't she raise you?" And "This ain't it, Nelson." A day after that post, Donald's mom called from a new number. He didn't answer. She left a voicemail that started with, "Donald, please," and ended with, "We're still your parents." He didn't bother listening to the middle. That Friday, a letter showed up in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was his dad's. A real piece of work. 3 pages front and back. It bounced between guilt trips, fake self-awareness, and one line that stood out. If Kate's going to be leaving a legacy behind, don't you think it should be shared fairly? That was the nail. Donald scanned it, added it to the court file, then brought it to Grandma Kate. She read the line, set the pages down, and said, "They still think I owe them something." Then she picked up her phone, called their attorney, and said 9 words. "Let's finalize the paperwork. I'm ready to sign everything." That afternoon, she had a notary come to the house. She rewrote her entire will. Donald, full beneficiary. Gladys, included by name. Eunice, Education Trust. Janet's baby, a separate supervised fund, monthly release, no access for parents. Nelson and Donald's parents, removed entirely. She even added a clause. If anyone contested the will, their share would go to a local shelter. Clean, sharp, final. 2 weeks passed. No door knocking, no fake invitations, just silence. Then the paper trail started. First, they got served notice that Nelson was trying to challenge Grandma Kate's mental capacity through some sketchy lawyer. Donald sent over APS records, court footage, medical notes, and the updated will signed under legal supervision. The case got thrown out within 5 days. Next came the fake apology letters, long-winded paragraphs from his mom about healing the wounds and not letting bitterness guide their final years. She even included a line about reuniting the family over a meal, maybe in Monterey. Donald didn't even show it to Grandma Kate. He shredded it the second he read that line. She never wanted reunion. She wanted closure. And now she had it. At night, she'd sit out back with Eunice on the swing. They didn't talk much, just sat there watching the sky dim. She didn't brag. She didn't glow with revenge. She just looked steady, like someone who had finally stopped checking the locks on the doors because she knew no one was coming in uninvited anymore. That weekend, Donald printed out a new sign for the front gate. No soliciting. No apologies. No access. Grandma Kate saw it, chuckled once, and said, "Might as well hang it in gold." Donald grinned. "Don't tempt me." The next week, word got around that Nelson was living back with Donald's parents, but not for long. 2 months later, they kicked him out. Apparently, he had racked up credit card debt, trying to impress some new girlfriend, and tried to borrow from their joint account. When they said no, he lost it, yelled, broke a lamp, and punched a cabinet. They called the cops, not to report him, but to scare him. It didn't work. He left that night and hasn't been back since. Janet stuck to her word. She stayed gone. She never asked for more. She never came back unannounced. The monthly trust Grandma Kate set up for the baby kicked in cleanly. Donald and Gladys got the reports. Formula, doctor visits, daycare. Nothing shady. As for his parents, they moved 2 towns over. Quiet neighborhood. Low profile. Donald heard they tried rejoining the local community church. It didn't last. People remembered the court case. Word travels. Nobody forgot what they did. His mom stopped posting online. His dad pulled back from every social circle he used to brag in. They even tried hosting a family gathering once, but only 3 people showed up, and none of them stayed long. They were isolated now, not because Donald and Grandma Kate ruined them, but because they did it to themselves. They made their choices, and for once, those choices caught up. Grandma Kate was still with them. She still woke up early, still made pancakes too thin and coffee too strong. She never bragged. She didn't have to. Her life spoke for itself now. Last week, she handed Donald a sealed envelope and said, "Open it when I'm gone, not before." He nodded. No questions. The truth was, he didn't need the envelope. None of them did. They already had everything that mattered: stability, peace, and a real family built on something better than guilt and obligation. You don't need blood to define family. You just need people who show up when it counts.